call to order and begin with the pledge of allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. This will just start right off the top. We've got some minutes to approve.
I move that we approve the February 6, 2024 Board of Water and Sewer Commissioner minutes.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well.
And
No one?
I move to accept and approve the minutes for March 13th meeting 2024 for the Water and Sewer Commissioners.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye as well.
Oh, I think we have somebody else on.
We got Steve on?
Is that you, Steve?
I think so.
Yeah? No?
I don't think so.
No? I don't think so.
Okay.
It was a TV.
No.
Oh, are we good? Going?
Steve was able to get in.
Yeah, I think.
I'm sure I'll try again.
Yeah, we should.
We can move on for the minutes because we two of us already voted.
Yeah.
We're just gonna go right down the line here.
I believe so.
All right, looks like we got Patton Road house lot discussion.
Mr. Freeman was gonna be joining us via Zoom tonight.
He's on.
He's on.
Zoom.
Oh, he is on? Hi, Mr. Freeman?
He's muted right now.
There he is.
The same discussion?
Yes, he was gonna speak about that. I believe his attorney was supposed to be on tonight as well.
Some technical difficulties here.
I don't think it's on our end other than the TV. There's someone down there.
Murdoch Mysteries.
They just have to unmute themselves, probably.
I think
Yeah,
so.
we hear him. I heard him.
I think that's,
That might be Charlene on her
that's the
end.
host.
Message Steve and see if he's able to join.
She's
Technology
It was
wasn't
traffic
your
was
fault.
pretty bad tonight,
Yeah, I was speaking to her before.
Yeah, there we go.
so she'll be here. All right, got
You
that.
there? Can you hear us, Mr. Freeman?
You are muted on our end.
You have to unmute.
Or join audio. You have to click the join on the bottom left.
Can he hear us, do you think?
Probably.
Probably.
So what'd you say he has to do?
He has to click probably join audio on the bottom left of the screen.
Oh, we got something going on.
So the, it's kind of north one, is it? I think that's where the noise is coming.
Yeah, I'd ask him
Yeah,
if
he
he
needs,
could change it.
Mr. Freeman, if you could hear us, you need to try to unmute yourself.
Steve said that he's getting a waiting circle on his, trying to load as well.
Well, maybe there's some issue.
There are some issues too.
Murdoch Mysteries.
Who's that?
That's Charlene.
Murdoch Mysteries.
Should we skip ahead until we get this fixed, or?
We could do that if you'd like.
I don't have a problem doing that. I don't want to
Okay.
keep them any longer than you two, but if we can't get them tougher now, then.
Murdoch Mysteries.
Okay.
I think so.
Should we just skip right to the next one then? We got 0 Mansfield Ave. Or actually, do you want to go into super updates until we get this ironed out?
We could do that in case of the people that can find it here. Steve said he's gonna let me.
Having trouble.
Let's do that first, and then when that gets working, then we can jump back down.
Yeah, so it takes the same amount of time anyway.
So Steve's trying to join. And then they also.
Jump over to superintendent updates. We've been informed by the town manager that the entire town is going through budget cuts right now. Basically, we had submitted all of our budgets. They had reviewed everyone's budget. They've gone through each line item that was supplied, made recommendations for either amounts or certain line items that they expected each of us to remove, whether it be cutting utilities, different expenses.
Yeah.
Steve still can't get in. I don't think it's on our end, anything we can do for him there. Basically, John and I have worked probably 3 times this time around, pulling down the numbers on our side, and trimmed as much fat as we could. We did increase a couple of the items that were there. One of them was the MFN budget. That number continues to rise. They see the same costs that we do for electrical, chemical, staffing, plus they also have the same debts that we do for infrastructure improvements and stuff, so their borrowings and their paybacks are very similar to what we have, and we pay a portion of that by being part of that tri-community, so that's something that we don't have the option of taking away from. Our number to Taunton for the sewer that we pay them to remove also has steadily been increasing. We have a line item there for about $20,000, and we're slowly getting to that number. We're coming in around $17,000 right now. So that will slowly increase as time progresses. We haven't changed that number in a while, but it is something we will deal with as it gets a little closer. So we've explained that to FinCom, to Capital Committee, and to the town manager. We did cut back a little bit on our overtime budget. That's an unknown. We pull that number, out of the hat based on previous years, hoping that we don't have any major catastrophes, anything like that, or any required hand operations of any of our facilities. It's really an unknown. It's a guess. If something happens and we have to, pull a special town meeting to appropriate new funds, we will have to do that. So it's something that we don't plan on, and if it happens, we have to find monies for it. After that, there was also talk, and it was implemented, that there's actually a spending freeze because of the cuts that have also come from the federal level. So basically, any unauthorized or unnecessary purchases are on hold until further notice. So again, we've put everything on hold. There's no further spending and no unnecessaries. Thankfully, we actually got our capital request in prior to all of this coming down. There is still a possibility that those could be cut at town meeting, but they were all approved for FY25, the vehicles and things like that we had asked for. Capital Committee supported that, Finance Committee and Town Manager. When it goes to the town meeting floor, there is the opportunity if the residents do have the chance to pick those line items apart, and that's their right to do that if they feel that they want to tighten the budget up even more. Then we'll jump over real quick.
So the spending freeze is now,
Spending freezes
and the
on.
budget cuts is for next year?
No, budget cuts are active
now.
as well. Yeah.
Okay.
We had, I think we had a 3% budget that we had presented, and it was taken back down to a 1% budget. That is, Mr. Bishop.
Hey,
He
Steve.
finally got in.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
How we doing?
Hey, guys. Oh, yeah.
Better than you.
Sorry I couldn't be there in person.
Yeah, you're all
Hey,
right.
Diane.
Hey, Steve.
Want to ask him if you run the meeting?
Frank?
Yeah, do you want to skip back into, now that this is working, or, can you do that from the Zoom?
Someone's on the phone.
Oh.
Is that,
Steve, you hear me?
Yes, Jim, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you just said.
No, Steve, Bernstein was just asking if you want to take over the meeting from the Zoom, or should I just keep doing it?
Why don't you just keep on doing it, Jim, just in case I've got to step away.
Yeah, it seems to be a little sketchy on the computer. Anyway,
Thank you.
so- Okay, that's no problem. But it seems like the computer's up and running
Thank you.
Jump back to,
You wanna jump back and see
Mr.
Mr.
Freeman.
Freeman's on? Yeah.
Take care of all them first. You hear us, Mr. Freeman?
Yes, it's me. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, there you are. We couldn't hear you before.
I'm waiting for my phone. Yeah, my computer froze up and then I just restarted, but I'm on my phone now. I don't know if my attorney's available.
Mercy? I am here. This is Fred Kelly. I'm just setting things up.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and discuss the Patton Road?
Gentlemen, does that say what I think you just heard? Mr. Wayne Sheen is out of the hospital and is already working on his next novel. This one will be a sensational but fact-based account, but celebrated novelist targeted by a mad admirer.
That's the TV.
Can we get him to turn that off, or?
Hold, please.
I'll bet you anything that you base that character on me. I'm sorry. From what I read,
It's amazing.
Can we send her a text or something? And
But you must be joking. Oh, I did. This will not stand. Where do you think you're going? I have a word with Winged Sheen. He's gonna write about all this. I expect to be included. Henry has a point. Factoring this suite was a team effort after all.
I don't think
Perhaps
we should
Mr. Winged Sheen will be
Hello?
Yeah, hold on.
we're waiting on some
Technical
audio difficulties.
All right, thank you.
Hold up. I do like the idea of a sidekick of me. I know. Madam, because you're assistant. Look at Katie's. What's wrong with that? I think we make a dynamic pair. Yes, we could be called the
We can't
dynamic.
keep that stuff here.
No, she has to.
Sorry, but I'm wrong all the time. But Winged Sheen can fix that. I've got to find him before he leaves town. The Higgins used to sushi. That's okay.
Okay.
That was interesting.
Did we get it?
Maybe.
I don't know. She's not muted.
Sounds like maybe we got it.
Let's try it.
Let's try it. Mr. Freeman, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I think we're good.
I'm just gonna let Mark, I'm sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
I was gonna let Mark Alonso speak on my behalf.
Okay? Hi, Mark.
Am I on?
Thank you.
Hello?
Yes. Hi, Mark, how are you?
Audible?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Can I be heard clearly?
Not quite.
I'm just checking to see if I'm audible.
You're
Yeah.
audible.
You're
Yeah, you're
audible. Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Mark Lanza. You can probably see the name up there. For the record, I'm an attorney. My office is in Concord, Massachusetts. I represent the landowner, Mr. Paul Freeman, as manager of the LLC that owns the subject Patton Road lots. It's my understanding, and I may need some clarification, that an issue has arisen, or issues have arisen, as to whether or not those properties, or the owner has a right to connect to the common sewer system in the roadway, number one. And number two, whether a betterment assessment can be charged relative to the use of that property. It's my position on his behalf that he has an absolute right to connect to the sewer system, the common sewer system by state law, Chapter 83, Section 3, unless there is insufficient capacity in the system and unless it's a pressurized main. My understanding is there is no issue with capacity, and it's a gravity pipe. So I just wanted to get that established. And as far as the betterment assessment goes, of course the town has the right to charge betterment assessments. It's entirely optional. But in this case, I don't know if one was ever charged, and if it was extinguished when the town acquired the properties through the tax title foreclosure process. When the town acquires properties through tax title foreclosure, that extinguishes all liens on the property, and certainly any liens the town had, because the town can't have a lien on its own property. So those are the two issues that I understand are up in the air and need to be addressed. And if The answer is my client has a right to connect because there's capacity in the system, and a betterment assessment at this stage of the game can't be charged, and I don't think we have anything further to discuss. Of course, he understands that, at some point, if he applies to connect to the system, he has to pay some sort of connection fee. I'm not, familiar with exactly how much that is, but that's a matter for another day. I also have been made aware that there was an issue about whether the property is buildable. Well, that is an issue, but that's for the building commissioner, the zoning enforcement officer. That's not an issue for the sewer commission. The sewer commission, as you know, reacts to applications after there's been a building constructed or a building permit has been issued. So those are the issues as I see it, and I'm ready to answer any questions.
Have we seen this before?
I think I remember hearing. There was,
So I can actually answer all of the questions, and it's pretty straightforward. These lots were non-buildable lots. They were acquired by the town back in 1976, 1983, and 1991. They were never assessed sewer betterments because they were non-buildable lots. The sewer was installed in the Grove area back in 1996. They were never assessed betterments because, as I said, they were never buildable lots. They were sold off by the town, auctioned as non-buildable lots, so there were no betterments attached to the property, so there were no betterments to be waived. They are still non-buildable lots until they were adjoined or are adjoined to adjacent lots, which still needs to be done with the building commission and approved. Until they are buildable lots, they cannot apply for or be granted sewer or water connections to have a house attached to them. Therefore, we cannot give them a permit to build and bring a sewer or water line to them, which I know Paul and I had already spoken about. So the question that was raised is, could the sewer betterments be waived? Well, there were never any sewer betterments attached to them, so there is no betterment to waive. The properties, if they can be made buildable by attaching more than one lot together, is perfectly fine. The sewer cost to connect will be a connection fee based on the amount of bedrooms that are going to be built on the property. If he wants a 3-bedroom, 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, that's completely up to what can fit on that lot and completely up to either Paul or whoever he sells the lots to. Same thing with the water service down there. Water is available, and it's based on the size of the service that's connected to the property. There are no stubs for water or sewer to either property based on what we see in plans. There could be a possible Y connection that's left at 1 or 2 of the lots that are down there, but there were never any provisions to bring anything to any of the properties, because even back then, in the early 90s, it didn't appear as anybody had any intentions of building on the smaller lots.
so until these lots are deemed buildable lots,
Until they're made buildable, either by joining 1,
Right.
2, 3, or 4, however it takes to bring it up to code, we cannot
there's nothing we
agree
can do
to
about
give
anything.
them a sewer service. That's where they sit right now.
Okay.
But it is available if it becomes,
They're fronted by active water and sewer. It's completely available if they do whatever is necessary to make them a buildable lot.
But they need to do that first before
Correct.
trying to get, basically. Does that make sense, Mr. Lanza?
Yes, I mean, we had, of course, we weren't asking for a permit to connect to a building for which a building permit has never even been sought. I think the issue was more, does the right exist? And can the town, after the fact, charge a sewer bid? I guess what I'm hearing is that you agree that the right exists, and it can be exercised at some point in the future when a building permit or a determination of buildability is sought. I mean, no one's going to apply for a sewer connection permit without a building. It makes no sense, because it's a costly process. As I understand it, there's no issue about capacity in the system. Sounds like you're agreeing with what we're proposing.
No, the right exists. It is there for both utilities. There are fees that are involved with connecting to both utilities. there is no betterment to be waived or no connection fees to be waived. I know Mr. Freeman has had good luck with some of the other properties that he has purchased over the years where betterments have been waived. It just doesn't fall in line with the age of these properties and how these properties were taken by the town.
Again, we're just trying to establish the right to connect, when the building permit gets issued, and we apply for a permit, basically, and that there will be no betterment assessment at that point in time. If the answer to both of those is yes, then I have nothing further.
There is no betterment, but there is a connection
Yeah,
fee.
the answers are yes, but there will be a connection fee.
Yeah, no, I didn't suggest or propose that there is not a connection.
Okay.
Utilities, everything, whether it's water, sewer, you name it, okay, there's a connection.
We're kind of all on the same page. Okay, so we'll see you again then after you make these lots buildable officially.
They are buildable, and I'm not gonna get into that now.
I don't mean physically buildable, I mean as far as the town is concerned, whether they're buildable or not.
Yes, and that, again, that's not an issue for the sewer commission, that's an issue for the building commissioner, zoning enforcement officer.
Yeah, exactly.
And we will resolve that. Obviously, we're gonna resolve that with him before applying for any connection permits.
It sounds like if you resolve that with him, then they'll come back and visit us and everything will be cut and dry and everybody's happy.
Yes.
What about the fact that the town owned them? It doesn't,
What about the fact
there was
that?
a betterment at the time, there was a betterment at the time, it went by the,
There was no
What
betterment.
year did they acquire those properties?
They weren't buildable lots.
76.
they acquired one of them in the eighties and one of them in the early nineties. The sewer went by in 96.
Well, as far as I am aware,
Therefore, they take the,
as far as I'm aware, the town can't assess a
Okay.
betterment to itself.
It can't.
correct, therefore I should be entitled to the use of the betterment, because having the town owning them, that basically wipes it out. So therefore, I should get the use of the betterment and be entitled to the betterment, which is therefore, I wouldn't have to pay a current fee. I should be grandfathered into the old system, the old fees, like everybody else in the neighborhood.
Well,
That's what I'm arguing.
And a betterment was never assessed to the property, so you can't have a betterment at the old rate. It's,
Yeah, a betterment, because the town can't assess a betterment to themselves, isn't that correct?
Yeah, that is correct, and I don't think there's any dispute about that.
so this,
yeah.
But he's also not gonna get assessed a betterment later either. What is
No,
that?
there's-
yeah, there's not gonna be a betterment ever at all, it's
No.
just simply gonna be a connection fee.
The connection fee is what it would be for a house on any other road to tie in.
Yeah.
It's,
I don't know what the actual number would be for the connection fee, but like Frank said, it's depend on what they're gonna build. So there's no way to know that until they get to that point.
I think it's 11,500 for a 3-bedroom, isn't it?
Yes.
yep, 3-bedroom minimum.
Okay. Is there, any other questions about that?
Not from me.
No.
Mr. Freeman? Oh, okay.
No, I don't. Thank you.
All right,
I'm sorry.
well, thank you, gentlemen, and I'm sure we'll probably be seeing you again on this matter.
Thank you for.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome, thanks. All right, moving along. 0 Mansfield Ave, wastewater discussion. We have Daniel Campbell with us.
Did he walk in
I
early?
thought someone had come in.
That wasn't there, Ken?
All right, well, let's
Did
give
we
it
ever
in for
hear
now.
back from them?
I honestly did not.
Did they send you those?
I don't think we ended up getting anything from them, nope. I never saw any new plans, so.
All right, we'll move over him to 0 and 231, 2318 Bay Street. We have anybody here for that?
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, okay.
Is it okay if I use this easel?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
I just throw it up here just so you guys are
So my name is Bob Forbes from Zenith Consulting Engineers. I know Mr. Forney's been going back and forth with Jimmy this and that, but we had 5 meetings with 2 people without one tonight, so you guys luck out, you get me. So what this is a project that's 2318 Bay Street in Taunton, and it's literally at the corner of Bay Street and Route 495. In 2018 and 2019, this went through the permitting process with the City of Taunton. It got approved by the City of Taunton in, I guess, September of 2019.
So this is in Taunton?
This is in Taunton.
Okay.
Now, back at that time, somewhere around the end of 2019 and before COVID hit in 2020, I know that Jamie and one of the attorneys for the project met with this board. I don't know if anybody has any recollection of that. I don't know anything about that, other than that they came and presented the project to the board. Mr. Fournier probably has a better recollection of that. What this is so this is a gas station. This is a proposed gas station here. It has a convenience store in it, just like pretty much every gas station nowadays, and a drive-through here, and the gas pumps are out front. Right now, this project went on hold when COVID hit, and the applicant at that time has sold the project to another entity, and that's TK Taunton LLC, who now wishes to build the gas station. So what they're looking for now is some discussions that just started the proposal was always to tie in with under the intermunicipal agreement with, between Taunton and Norton. Tie in for both water and sewer. And I believe the sewer ties in, goes down to the pumping station and gets pumped back up Bay Street and into Taunton. There is an existing water main out front that we're proposing to tie the project into. At this time, you'll notice that there's a commercial building over here. There are no plans to build that at this time. There's also a proposed car wash shown here. That is also not on the table at this time. So all the current owner is looking to do is to build the gas station portion of the project and get the tie-in for the water and the sewer. And I know when Jamie started discussing this with Mr. Fournier, he asked us to come in and discuss it with this board. So we're kind of at the initial phases of it, and of discussing with you guys and getting the permission and whatever we need to do. So we're here to, I guess we're here to get any feedback the board has, and I just ask you if what we need to do to move forward with this thing.
The biggest hurdle, why we really wanted you to come in, is this IMA.
Yeah.
So I was interim when this had started, and I remember hearing discussions with the previous superintendent about it, the limitations that were placed on it. And as I mentioned, the IMA, there's limitations in this that Taunton had placed on Norton. When we installed the water main extension there and the sewer line, we actually installed it from Winnicott all the way over 495 down into Taunton, down to the weir. The IMA limits the sewer connections to the existing structures that are there along the way. No other commercial properties or anything are allowed to be constructed and attached to it. It also limits to 7 residential water services to be constructed and attached to that water main. And this is good till 2026.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's ironclad, I don't know if you guys or the previous people had talked about it with Taunton or not.
Is that something that's new? Because
Oh no, this has been in there since 2001 in April.
Yeah, so This is, I'm not an attorney.
Well,
I'm an engineer.
neither am I.
And this is way beyond my pay scale,
Yeah.
believe me. Now, so while this whole thing was going through the permitting process, of course, the applicants were obviously, if without water and sewer, this is not a developable project. Taunton assured them through many requests from the attorneys for this project that this is allowed in the intermunicipal agreement, and I'm not arguing, I don't know.
That's right.
But if that's the, I have a different document than that. It's like I have a copy of it, and it specifically says, I mean, I'm happy to give it to you, I don't, it seems.
We can exchange copies.
Yeah, and again, I don't know, it's probably something that the project's attorney is gonna have to go through, because again, I don't understand that.
I mean, that's actually why we brought Diane in tonight. Diane was on the board at the time.
Oh, great.
And is well versed in this and what went on with those discussions. Steve, our, is he on? He's sleeping or not. So Steve is our board chair. He was here at the time. He wasn't in the capacity that he is now. So he does remember some of this, but most of the board has changed since then. So there's just a lot of moving parts that obviously need to be straightened out before we can sign.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
You know, just to make sure that everything goes where it needs to go.
This is perfect, this is exactly what we were hoping to get.
We have no problems with giving you guys water and or sewer, you know, but we need to make sure that everything's done correctly, make sure that, you know, the safety precautions are in place, because it is in Zone 2. I believe it's actually in Taunton's Zone 2.
It is.
Not in Norton's, but it's so close to Norton, we
Yeah.
need to make sure.
We had to jump through hoops for
yeah.
that, believe me,
Yeah,
so that was
just a lot of concerns with this. And
most of the permitting
Yeah.
was focused around that fact
Yeah.
that it was in Zone 2. So, this is what, again, this is what they supplied to us at the time. And this is a document from October 3rd, 2003, and it's signed by the town of Norton and the city of Taunton.
I mean, it's very possible that
So-
other agreements may have been made
And again,
outside of the fact, but yeah.
The date of that one was 2001?
This was signed in '01, and then it was stamped by Dwayne in 2002.
yeah. And I'm just trying to find, Frank, just give me a
Yeah.
second, I'll try to find the, and again, so essentially right here, it just says, and again, I'm not trying to, I just want to point this out, delivery of water service / water quality. Delivery of water service shall include adequate volume and pressure for any purpose allowed under the zoning ordinance in the city of Taunton for the designated area, under the state building code, and for any use authorized by a special permit by the appropriate special permit granting authority for the city of Taunton. Volume and pressure shall be adequate, blah, blah, blah. So I think
I believe that clause is in here, but I believe it's also limited
yeah, and again,
in the
it's not,
previous language.
yeah, you can have it, actually.
So what's the date of that one, Diane?
That's
that you have?
This one is 2003, so it is post this one, but I'm not.
This one's 2001?
Right.
Right.
So my guess is that this is what they sent the project applicant at the time, City of Taunton sent this document to them saying, yeah, you have no problem. This is ironclad, basically. And again, that's something that,
This here,
yeah.
Norton agrees to allow up to 7 properties along Bay Street North identified on plan. So they actually had an appendix, which I don't have a copy of.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I saw some questions about, I don't know if anybody asked that.
Exactly.
It hasn't been
We haven't
supplied
found
to
that
us.
yet. You know,
If I find it, I'll get it
It's
to you.
identifying 7 specific properties that were existing at the time. You know, so only 7 residential properties, and then
Yeah, if
you
you're
go
coming
over
over the
here.
over.
Get off the
And it
sidewalk.
defines, as far as sewer connections, only
There's nothing
the
there
future
now.
public safety
There
building,
was
which
a
was
house.
the Bay Road Fire
It was torn
Station,
down, right.
existing restaurants, and existing residential properties, dwellings in existence at the time of this agreement, to tie into the sewer.
That's super interesting.
And that
So,
cuts-
yeah.
cuts
No,
off.
I see exactly where you're coming
And
from.
I
So-
remember this was
Yeah.
discussed when they were trying to build a property across the street from this.
Right.
And they put a squash to it, and then this came in, and this kind of steamrolled through, and that just kind of got the wheels going. that was, like I said, before COVID. It's been quite a while. And,
Yeah.
so it's interesting to see that this is still progressing, and if there is documentation that, has progressed and moved through Taunton, it could be possible it's lost somewhere here in files, or we just never saw it.
And again, so I will, number 1A and A through Z is gonna be, have the attorneys check
Sure,
this
sure.
and figure out what's going on.
So we basically have a conflicting IMA documents.
Or it's an addendum to this, or.
That's what it seems like. It seems like that can't happen. This is part of the memorandum of understanding to establish the IMA.
No, that was the IMA.
Yeah.
This is the actual original
This one
document.
here was, I think, intended to, just read it, right? I'm not familiar with it, but it looks like it's intended to clarify some of the terms that are in
Sure.
that are
Some
in the
language.
IMA. And the portion of it, as you pointed out, is that no matter how it's zoned for any purpose, is interesting because it's physically not possible. The sewer line that goes across the highway is as big as it could be made, and short of running the pump station more frequently would, provide like some extra capacity. But I mean, the whole project would have to be looked at, because at the time it was specifically the 7 houses, and Norton had the same cap, that no additional construction, it would be the existing, 65 houses or whatever it was, plus the two restaurants that were in place at the time.
That was the exact design for that pump station.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's limited to that, yeah.
It's limited to that, and the land for that pump station is again, rather small. There's not, there's not expansion.
My understanding is that, and again, I actually did this site design, but I'm not a sewer guy either. I'm not a septic guy, sewer guy. So I talked to the person who looked at this for the sewer connection, and said it's essentially without the car wash, which they're not doing, it's not much more, maybe not any more than a regular residential house, which there's a residential house here that's coming down, so I don't know, and again, we'll address that. We'll address that issue, and if it's kind of replacing what's already going in there, then it should be designed for the capacity of this thing.
Gas stations typically have heavy use.
Yeah, I don't know how that they're proposing, because I would assume, I thought the same thing, if they have public restrooms, it's gonna be a lot. I mean, I don't know what you guys, but I don't have like truckers coming to my house and relieving themselves all day. So
It's typically a high use area.
yeah, so that's what I don't know. So that's what I was told by the sewer designer. Again, that's another thing that we'll address.
What
No,
size?
I'm sorry.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
No, really.
I was just curious, it's just a gas station, but you said a convenience store.
It's a
I know
convenience
at one time
store,
there were
yeah.
also other, like a donut shop or other.
There is a drive-through, so I'm assuming they're gonna have the ability to pass coffees through the window or whatever. So, again, I can get you more information on what they're proposing, the exact things that they're proposing and doing. I don't have that myself, but I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, well, it just ties
It
into
ties into the-
anticipated.
Oh, absolutely,
usage.
absolutely. And you'll notice that this is titled Grease Trap.
Yep.
So obviously, there's food being prepared in this
Right.
building.
Yeah, which makes a whole
So,
different
yeah,
thing, especially with the sewer.
exactly.
Yeah. What size water line is proposed? Does it say on the plans?
This is, so, what the original applicant had proposed was we showed an 8-inch water main coming across. So at the time that I heard you mention earlier, it's based on the size of the line that you're proposing. So that was an astronomical fee, but it made sense to the applicant at the time because they were proposing they needed water for the car wash. And again, this wasn't using a lot. And this is an unknown, the city of Taunton, when we permitted this thing, they wanted us to essentially put a placeholder design here because there was so, the drainage design was so complicated, they wanted us to essentially max it out. So, I know that the former proponents, owners of the site, that looked at doing a self-storage facility there. I don't know what's going in there. I know these owners have looked at it as a self-storage facility, and they don't think that that's going to be a viable option. So we don't know. We don't know what's going on here. It would be crazy to bring an 8-inch across to just service the line who's here.
The limitations are gonna be what you're gonna get out of your flow at the end of it. It's a dead-end line.
Yes.
So you're fed, you have 12, down, Bay Road and King Philip area there, but you're still going uphill to a dead end. So you have to do a fire flow test there to see what you can get out of it at the end of the line. It might limit you for fire suppression there. But the IMA also limits you to residential services. That's why I was asking what size line is proposed there. If you're going for a 1 inch or 1.5 inches, it's kind of a stretch, but you could call it a residential service. But if the language of that IMA still holds true, then 8 inches is a residential service.
Yeah, a really big residential.
So in the language of the IMA, they, considering whether it's residential, they're just looking at the size of the service. They don't care what the actual structure is.
Well, the IMA specifically said the 7 residential, the 7 existing residential buildings, and.
It really limits what could or couldn't be built.
Right.
The IMA wouldn't allow this to go in, or wouldn't allow a sewer connection to this because it wasn't existing at the time. So that's where, if that was worked out when this had started in its proposed stage, and we just don't have copies of it, or we haven't found any more paperwork on it, I don't know, but we've looked everywhere and haven't found anything other than that. And record keeping is something of that importance is usually.
So what's the next step?
What does he need to do?
I would, if you can email me over everything you have, I'll make copies of what I have and send it back to you.
I'd be happy to.
And we can send it off to the attorneys, I can send it off to ours and see if,
you guys can
who
keep,
remembers what. And
you can keep that, I'll send you a PDF of that.
All right.
So shouldn't he give us water flows and sewage flows and what the proposed sewer connection will be?
If they don't know what that extra building's gonna be, it really doesn't matter.
No, I mean just what they're looking for.
I wait to see what this IMA is gonna come out first.
Yeah, that's probably the big issue.
If that IMA is gonna be the holdup, all that extra work is done for nothing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're right, why do it?
And that we're happy to provide that, of course, as soon as we, get that information from you, what would be the ultimate, the user was proposing.
I mean, the names that are on that paperwork that you have from Taunton, do you know if those people are still in Taunton, still working, or? Our boards changed frequency.
Yeah, 21 years ago.
Right, I'm sure they do as well.
I don't know, and I actually quickly looked at them, but I didn't.
Right here.
Could you
No.
Yeah, if I could look at it.
Just wondering if
I
it's
might be
somebody
able to
that's still,
recognize the name.
if there's still somebody that's there.
I knew where I was.
But I don't.
I was in fourth
And
grade.
unfortunately, Dwayne has passed away, so it's
2003?
possible that it could be the same
He was at the
situation.
commissioners meeting.
9/11. You know what that's.
I was in New York, Staten
No, that's
All those from Taunton accepted a signature.
Did flying planes?
I was in the plane going to Baltimore.
So again, you started up again.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I was on the airplane. Could have been my planes behind you.
So we got two, we got Mr. Knapp and I can't, let's see, it looks like Don Brown or something.
Well, there was a Don Brown,
Yeah.
many years ago, yes, he was on the board many years ago, predecessor of mine.
What?
Up to 2007.
He's the football coach at UMass.
That might not be the same. That wasn't it.
All right, so I get it. I have my marching orders. I'll get you the stuff that I have. Yeah, let's get the attorneys on this thing.
So
we should have an answer for you for 3 or 4 years.
So you're gonna talk to your attorney
Yeah.
and provide that,
I'll bring it up to KP Law, see if they remember
Okay.
anything.
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot of fresh faces over there as well, but maybe there's still somebody hanging out that remembers it.
And that makes sense to iron through that, and then we'll attack the issues.
Yeah, I
How
mean,
we're
this
gonna
is
do
simple once we
iron
get through that,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
so
I
if,
agree.
so.
Did you leave us a copy of that?
Oh, did I take it back? You're happy to have
What
it.
about
And again,
the
I'll.
city of Taunton?
I will,
Something where they can just,
I think they'd be in the same boat as us. I think all of their turnover is gonna be like
So-
ours.
no, but is it something where they
Discussion,
can
yeah.
petition them for a waiver for it, or is it something where?
And what's the restriction, is it sewer main?
Well, it's both.
It's both.
It's both. Oh, for going over the bridge?
No, what's the
sewer.
limitation of why they was limited?
Okay,
What-
so.
What set the 7 residential home connection? Only because that's what they decided to do, just
Because it generates
Yeah.
sewer.
There was a reason for all of this. The origin of this project was the Winnicott area was considered an area of critical environmental concern. At that time, it was similar to the Grove, right? It's a lot of summer cottages that were being converted to year-round use. And the soil there is very permeable, it's gravel and sand. People had cesspools, and it was going right into the lake. So as part of the effort to restore the lake to recreational use, this project was proposed in early 90s, right around the same time as the Grove project started as well. And it took almost 10 years to figure out what to do with it. Apparently, it was impossible to get to the regular wastewater treatment plant, right? Norton's, at the time Mansfield's wastewater treatment plant, just because of there was a lot of ledge to blast through, and it was, this is what I recall anyway. So as part of the deal, so there was and still is obviously, a wastewater treatment facility in Taunton that at the time was under capacity. And so the discussion started with Taunton to bring in this corner of Norton. It's kind of cut off, just like the 7 houses in Taunton are cut off from the highway, right? So it's like a little forgotten corner that's isolated because of 495. Taunton wasn't really hot to bring in Norton users. So as part of this project, Norton agreed to, provide gravity, to pump it, basically sewage over the bridge, and then to have like a gravity line extended, I think he said down to Weir Street, or it's quite a distance down though into Taunton, to enable those homes who also drain into the, I don't know what the name of the aquifer is, but they all drain into like the Watson Pond and then down into the Taunton River eventually. So in exchange for allowing Norton's problem to be taken care of, the negotiations at Taunton said, well, we've got some of our own problems to take care of, so if you pay for the infrastructure, we'll do this. And by the way, those 7 houses who are kind of cut off by the highway, if you could take care of them by providing them access to potable water. As opposed to a well, because at the time things were very dry, and there wasn't a lot of confidence that people wouldn't want to be on city water at the time. So that's how the deal was baked, and that's why we have the restrictions on no development on the Norton side. Nobody else is tying in, but you people here who are begging for help. And in exchange, it was just the 7 houses, and I don't know what the zoning was back in 2000, 1999, 1997, whenever this was, again, cooked. But I do know that area is surrounded by conservation land, and I think the idea was to just have those 7 houses grandfathered and to be left alone for, no further development on that corner on the Taunton side either.
good explanation of that.
So,
Thank you.
so
Yeah, that was-
Thank you.
so this property is in Taunton, correct?
It is on top.
So Taunton would be getting the taxes and, so, to me, Taunton would want, if they're even, so this has been presented to Taunton before, right, this building?
They approved it in
Right.
2019.
So,
It was already
to
approved.
me, I think it would be something worth exploring with the city of Taunton. I mean, I don't see, if they're willing to waive a fee on their own restriction, might be something, instead of, like you said, waiting 3 years for lawyers to get back to you. I mean, that's just a
I
thought.
mean, a consideration though for the board, right, is, from a policy perspective, there, I believe the original landowner owns another of the 7 parcels that is there. There's the one
Yeah,
that
next to it, I think,
the
right?
nursing home, it's across the street.
Is it across the street?
The, I don't know what it was a nursing home or a retirement of some sort, some kind of assisted living facility. That is an undeveloped parcel. And then there are, there's one other landowner who owns quite a large parcel. So part of the things to consider, as a board is, can you treat them all equally, right? Can you bring them all in? Is that possible? I mean, is that part of our capacity? Is that part of, is it in line with the, land use objectives for that particular area, especially given, the reason why sewer came to it in the first place? So, I mean, it's hairy, we can't, and I'm saying we, not me.
If you allow something for one, are you opening it up for everybody?
And you definitely are, and so the planning aspect of this, shouldn't be taken too lightly. So that's
The agreement was put in place for a reason. I'm sure there's a
For a
lot of
reason.
thought that went behind it, and a lot of people that stood up and fought for it. I guess that's what he's saying. Yeah. It took a long time. I remember hearing the stories. Yeah. Yeah.
So this was one of the 7 houses this lot? That's what you said?
This is one of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the houses, the old houses somewhere
Yeah.
right around here.
It was.
Are the other 6 just all along Bay Street somewhere?
They're on,
Right
yes,
They're
yes.
right next door, I believe there's 4 on the side,
There's
3 on the
like
side,
3 or
something like
4.
that.
I think
It's
that's
4 and
right.
3, I can't remember
Yes,
which side.
yes. Yeah, because there's one far behind, then there's a
Oh,
blue
that's
one
right.
close to the street.
that's right.
And then
One behind,
there's
yeah,
the
that's
one
one.
Are they all
up
active, the
there.
other 6?
Are they all?
Oh,
Occupied?
Occupied.
Yes.
They're all
Used right now?
occupied,
Most of
I
them
think
are
one's a
occupied.
2-family, one's a 3-family. And I know for sure one of them is connected to sewer. The others, I don't know, I know for sure one of them is connected to a well. The others, I'm not understand.
So what is it we need to actually decide on tonight?
Oh, this was just
Information.
to get some information.
We'll be revisiting this then.
Most definitely.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not Jamie, I'm not the project manager.
Right. You gotta go back. They crucified me.
Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, thank you.
I appreciate
Yeah.
it. Good to see you.
So, Conservation Commission.
That's good to see you.
0 Mansfield Ave. Continue.
Yeah. I've seen that. That date is kind of surprising. That's the one we skipped over.
Correct.
Okay.
We got these minutes today from Conservation, or I didn't.
Okay.
I got no, I signed up for the minutes from the town, regular minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's maybe the communication that was there.
Well, it doesn't change anything, nobody's here to talk about it.
Right.
But it's on, it's still being discussed in conservation. Talk about
That's why
0
I'm not here.
Mansfield was, it's still before conservation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Different subject.
And just,
That may be why I'm here tonight. Is what happened now. All right, can we move on? Jamie Bissonette from Zenith.
That was That was his substitute.
Oh, that was him, okay, we're on the same,
Cover.
yeah, so that's all the
Oh,
same
yeah.
thing, okay.
Bob.
Yeah, Bob Forbes. All right, I guess we can go back to
I
super
believe he
updates
was
now,
the
ready.
original engineer.
So we're not gonna be talking about Zero Mansfield, right?
Pretty sure. Thanks for that.
You look pretty familiar.
I think he was the original
Yeah,
engineer.
good thing. Joe, top, yeah, I guess. All right, you wanna jump back in where you left off, Frank?
Yeah, I was trying to figure what that was.
Meantime, right, I'm number 4 on the list.
Capital.
And it was just because I wanted to see if there were any sewer projects
Yeah, you did.
to announce at the, the various MFN meetings. And
Sorry, I didn't mean to
so
move
cur-
on if you had more, I thought that was all
Oh,
fine.
no, that's okay, it's just, well, it's a kind of,
Yeah.
one reason I'm here is for the history of the Bay Street project, but the other one is to, because MFN always asks, are there any sewer updates? No, I haven't heard anything. Is there anything that could affect the Mansfield, Norton plant, like basically big tie-ins, big projects, anything hot, anything new?
So Elm Street is,
Elm Street,
we had an
yeah.
article on town meeting to sewer Elm Street, up
Okay.
to get the Reed and Barton property.
Okay, so it's just,
It's just Elm Street, all the way from
Okay.
Reservoir to Main Street.
okay,
Um,
how many gallons would that be potentially?
Is 195 Mansfield Ave like known to the NFL? Like, I know they're
Yeah, there's a
tied in and
flow.
paid their fees, but no one's in there that's
I
not
don't
being
understand the
used.
regulation.
That's gonna be a substantial amount of flow that's
It's
gonna
gonna be a while, I think.
Yeah,
in our
it's
region.
taken forever. But,
That's the apartment.
yeah, there's like
house
100 apartment
Oh.
units behind
Yeah.
Behind
McDonald's.
McDonald's, I've seen that.
They're taking
So,
forever.
yeah.
It's been years.
It's like, it's literally like, that building's been up at least 2 years.
Yeah, it went quick too.
We've been waiting to call and have the pre-treatment coordinator go over and inspect it. Every time we talk to them, they're not ready. I mean,
Engineering or
they're building the
flows?
building, they're finishing the insides, they haven't got a water meter in there yet, and they haven't finished doing the sewer manhole inspections. It's like, I don't know how
Don't report us.
they coordinate anything. It is totally backwards.
Project started funded last
How many bedrooms is it?
There was a number, some were 1 bedroom, some were 2 bedrooms,
Yeah.
some of it's affordable housing.
Was it one-
There was a couple, there might have actually been a couple of 3-bedroom units in there.
It was. We'll have to get it.
Yeah.
Get
Okay.
it before me.
All right, or I'll just.
I think so.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And Elm Street sewer is still being voted.
It still has to be voted on. We have a couple of informational meetings that are gonna be coming up to see if the public's even gonna support it. With everything being as tight as it is right now,
Two
it's
months.
still
Oh,
really
the John's Avenue
iffy.
ball.
Oh, please go.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one to push through.
Well, we have a bond,
Yeah.
3.8 million bills, something like that?
We have a grant.
Grant.
A grant.
Oh, okay, yeah, I'm familiar with the grant.
That was
Okay.
awarded, but
Average
we
annual?
still have to put up a pretty hefty portion of it, and then there's
45,000.
the unknown portion that would either
Do you
come
want the
from
Rumford Road one too?
the ratepayers or
That was like
from
a
taxes.
million and a half.
So that's kind of hard to.
Unless Weston Sampson does the magic and make it, the extra disappear. Well, they did the borings, right?
They're working on the borings. They hit that water main dead on.
We know where the water main is. Yeah. We're
Oh, we know where it
locating
is in that
utilities.
bend anyway.
Yeah, we're locating utilities.
Tiny
That
lakes.
borings.
Yeah.
It's about 45,000 gallons a
Thank you.
day, average daily flow.
Thank you.
It's not gonna hit for a while.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like either one of these are
No,
worth
they'll be a while.
announcing, so.
And the apartment, I don't think it's gonna really be that bad. I don't think it's gonna be that huge of an impact.
Okay.
I mean,
No, they just have to kind of ramp up their,
Right.
yeah, so, depends on how fast people move in, I guess.
That's what I'm thinking, that it might be a slow process to fill.
I don't know, you hear there's housing shortage, and for sure, there's nothing for Grant Norton, so.
Was that 40B, that one?
It is affordable, so they've, depends on what you classify as.
So the
affordable
process
these days.
for us approving projects in the past, do we just pass that information on to Diana, or is that not how it happened?
Typically,
Well, in the past, it was easy, because I was also on the board.
she was always here. We haven't had- we
No,
haven't
but,
had-
no, I understand she's not here, so the question is, moving forward, is that something that
If it was a substantial project, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing is Balfour Farm, which is now something else, but that's gonna be a long, drawn-out process. They're building
44, I think.
44 $1 million homes
Yeah.
down off of Pine Street.
Oh, that's
They're
nice.
tying directly into the MFN interceptor.
Okay,
I just
okay,
took a ride out
so
there
I'm
yesterday.
aware of
Check
that
it
one
out.
too, requested on both sides.
Yep.
to-
That, again, gonna be real slow. I think the first house is supposed to be built within 3 or 4 months, and then it's gonna be built to suit after that.
Okay, so
So-
that won't make much of a
That won't make
difference.
a major impact at all, so.
Okay, yeah, but, I mean, if you wanna, I can give you my contact information if you wanna do those
It's up to
sewer,
Frank.
the
I'm
sewer,
nothing good.
Yeah.
We got like
He
a
loves
tail.
cars, give him a card, he loves
With a
cars.
tail.
He loves
Yeah,
exchanging cards with people.
Okay.
True. Yeah, wonderful.
Yeah, no, and it's fine, it's just so there is like kind of a heads up. Norton isn't even close to its capacity at this point. You know, we do have the option to buy into more capacity when we start to get close, but we're not close.
Can we sell some? We need money.
And what is our capacity?
Off the top of my head, what do we have? It's 3.4 million GPD. I used to be able to recite this in my sleep. And we kept reducing it. We had started off with 700,000 and we went down. I don't know,
I thought it was 550.
Yeah, it's around 500. But we're not close yet. People are concerned. It's a good thing. We have a tight system. I think that's still true.
And the rate FinCom is talking about not wanting people to have to pay for sewer, I don't think we'll ever come close. So, they don't, they want sewer, but they don't wanna pay for it.
Feel free.
Well,
It doesn't work that way, it's any math.
Well, I just got a water bill from Taunton, and it's just shot way up because they're in the, you know, where you have to go out to the ocean, the MWI.
Mhm.
And wow, a big change this year. So. Anyway, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Diane. All right, Frank, you want to jump back into where it was left off?
Too busy chatting.
We're talking about budget cuts and spending freezes and all that fun stuff.
Spending freeze, capital expenses. Talking about flooding. In case anybody hadn't noticed. So Norton's on track to set a new record for rainfall from January to April. We're just under 30 inches.
Switch from last year, huh?
Right, night and day. So, yeah, we're at 24.43 as of April 4th. That didn't include the 2.5 inches of rain that we got on April 4th. And that isn't gonna include the 1.5 inches that we got planned for this week, so we're gonna blow the records out of the water. So unfortunately, with, 30-something inches of rain in a few months, measuring water in feet's never a good thing. And we've been noticing that at the water treatment facility.
Yeah.
I mentioned, I think to Steve, if he's still on, and I think I'd sent a message out to you too as well. We've been noticing changes at the water treatment facility with filter loading. We've been on the phone quite a bit with Tara and Ben from Weston and Sampson, and we've had numerous hours of time spent at the filter plant, double and triple checking, our batch operations with the potassium permanganate, all the chemical injectors and stuff. Just trying to get our heads wrapped around why the filter loading was changing as much as it was, and why we weren't seeing the removal the same as we were before the rain. And what we've come up with is that the water quality in the aquifer itself has actually changed. More than likely from the heavy impacted flows from seeing the feet of rain. And there is obviously other minerals in the aquifer that our plant isn't designed to remove. So without getting too scientific and getting too involved, basically,
other minerals can also be removed by the green sand filtration plant, not just the iron and minerals, iron manganese that is designed to be removed. So what we're coming up with, and we haven't scientifically proved it yet with samples, we still have samples out that we're waiting for results on, but we're thinking that other minerals and contaminants are being removed by the filters, that's causing the filter loading that we're seeing, causing the increased backwashing that we're having to do, and obviously taking away from the removal that we're wanting to see of the iron and manganese. Add to that, we actually have a filter that's down that needs to be repaired, rebedded, or whatever. We have a broken under drain. So now we're down to 5 filters. So that's also increasing the amount of time that we're backwashing, limiting the amount of water that we can put back to the head of the plant, and adding the amount of runtime we have at well 1, which is our unfiltered plant. So, everything's adding to, an unfortunate turn of events, and we are actually seeing a few blips of color out in the distribution system that we've gone out. We've had to do some light flushing and stuff.
We had calls?
We've had a few calls. Yeah. We've gone out and, knock on wood, we've flushed, and we've seen a little bit of color in the system. It clears up right away, thankfully. Nuisance calls, stuff that nobody wants to deal with. Unfortunately, it's time to flush, and we can't with the filter down. We can't without well 3 back online, which we're still waiting for approval for our template for Boston DEP. We sent that off. That's got to be 2.5 weeks now, John. They sent that off.
Yeah.
At least.
Yep.
So we sent out a copy of the public notice that we want to send out to the residents. DEP Boston has to approve that. It's basically our PFAS information, our change of operations to tell the residents that we intend on putting well 3 back online. Showing all of the PFAS sample results that we've taken while it's been offline, that they are below the 20 parts per trillion sample MCL. But what could happen if we exceed, obviously more public notice would have to go out, and that way we're looking to, use it, only as necessary, so we could perform our flushing program, because we need the water volume in order to do that. But we can't do anything until they give us a nod to go ahead. And then we still would have to put it out to print, distribute it before we could even start. So we're looking to set up a meeting with DEP possibly this week, if not early next week, to discuss all of the water quality issues that are going on, why there's a delay in the template approval, and some of the other public notice template approvals that we have to get out. We had started planning to do the flushing. We had actually started planning to flush last month, and obviously this didn't happen. So until we hear back from Boston, we're on a holding pattern. And there's a possibility we may not get into flushing at all if we don't hear anything within a week or 2. We end up doing a modified flush like we've done in years past. We just don't know what the water is going to do and what the weather's going to do. If the flip goes and we all of a sudden go into a drought situation, which I think is very possible. We don't want to get stuck in a situation where we're in a worse situation than we are now. We are talking to Weston and Sampson about what needs to be done with filter 5 and the under drain. It's more than likely the same scenario that we had with filter 3. We would have the company come in. I don't remember the name of the company. It was Andrew, but I don't remember the name of his company. It was a recommended company that Tara had used before. They were able to come in, basically vacuum out the existing media in the filter, reuse it, put it back in, and it actually saved a ton of money instead of basically sucking it all out, hauling it off to waste. But I think it was still in the $20,000 or $22,000 range to redo that filter. But cost of doing business, it has to be done. We need that filter back online. So that's coming.
So with your budget freeze, that's not a problem?
It's a necessity.
Okay, no, I understand, it's a rhetorical question, but.
I'll sign it whether they like it or not. It's got to get done. What's the worst they can do? Fire you doing business.
No, give you a contract for 3 more years. That's the worst thing.
Dad, you're probably about right on that. So we will, even with our limitations with the filter down and other disturbances going on by the flushing that we do with the fire pump test, the hydrant flow test and all that. We are still gonna continue to do our dead end flushing, respond to calls and all that, just like we have in the past. We have been out, I don't know if you guys have gotten any of the Norton alerts that John's put out. We had to respond to a few emergency leaks that we've come across, and we actually had to shut down some mains in order to do the repairs. There were some that were very odd. We had a stainless steel wraparound that a hole actually bored through the side of it. Never seen anything like it. It was put around a repair where a water service was actually pulled out of a main, and it literally, the pressure of the water actually shot through the side of that stainless steel. Never seen it. It looked like a bullet went through it. I don't know who made that wrap on that day, but I'll never use that.
It was compromised to begin with. There was a weak spot.
I'll show you a picture later. It's insane. Never would have guessed that could have happened.
Not different, not different metals or anything?
It looked like the same one we took off the shelf. Very strange. We actually
I mean, those wraps have a, what is that, rubber on the inside?
Yeah,
So
rubber
it's-
gasket on the
It's not
inside.
even like it was corrosion, galvanic corrosion or anything like that. Like you said, it was literally like someone put a bullet through it.
So that one took a little while to do. Had to call in National Grid to have them hold the pole, and so that was a little involved. And then we had that other one that was down off of Garrett. That was rather involved. We had to call the back truck in for that one, all direct every wires and everything in the way. So been pretty active, a few weeks. Each time had to shut the mains down, which obviously changes flow, causes disturbances, so we've been chasing those around. We had 2 public notices that have or are going to be going out shortly. The first one is for TTHM, and oddly enough, this is for what's called an LRAA exceedance, which is a locational running annual average exceedance. Steve loves that one. This actually goes and covers from May 2023 to February 2024. The last sample did not exceed, but the combination of the samples that were taken that include the last sample and go back to May, the average of them exceeds, and that requires a public notice.
Fantastic.
Yeah, how much of the general public, I don't even understand it, so I'm not so sure how anybody else is gonna understand it.
So because it's a second round of a public notice, they are now allowing it to go out in the form of a postcard, and it'll have a QR code on it, which if you scan it, it will bring you directly to a copy of the public notice online.
Okay.
So a little different than what you've seen in the past. And the other is actually a public notice for an exceedance of the action level for manganese. This is for well 1. I know we mentioned probably a couple of meetings ago that well 1 was doing really well. It was cleaned and the levels were extremely low. With, again, the changes in the aquifer and the fact that we're using a lot more, we've started to see that increase again. So now it is above the action level, which triggers the public notice requirement. The biggest thing with that is it's a raw water sample. It's a sample taken directly at the well. It's not indicative of what you see in the distribution system because it blends, but it's a requirement to send it out so that everybody is aware of what's entering the distribution system. So that will be going out. I believe, actually, I think it goes out.
That was in the paper.
That one's already in the paper,
So-
okay. So,
That's what I got. You got anything, John?
I think I forgot.
Filed our ASR,
Yes.
annual statistical report, and
We didn't get a copy.
I can print you one if you want. You don't mind, lifting some weights in your spare time. And
It's a CCI
that's
too.
pretty much it. Yeah.
So we had Red Mill Village we had sprinkler testing. It was a very well coordinated, I believe, and I believe everything worked out really well. We had Rustic did the work, and the water department was there, and couldn't have been, it went off without a hitch, I believe. And I don't know if you had any follow-up on water quality issues.
I don't think there were any
No,
complaints
no
on that.
calls.
Because I know, you know, I didn't hear anything, they usually have the first one, everybody complains too, so. But I'm just telling you, you're doing great.
I remember that when they called from now on.
All right, thanks, guys. Weston and Sampson. But,
Okay.
I'll let you guys decide which one.
Short or long?
How about ladies first?
Ladies, let's just do that.
So we've been obviously helping out with the water quality concerns over at the treatment plant, and Frank gave a pretty good summary. I'm not going to go even further into the just going to reach out if you have any questions on that. So the South Worcester Street, we chatted, we were emailing back and forth about a week and a half ago or so, gave authorization to move forward with the bidding for that, and while the ARPA funds are all being worked out in the meantime, but we're planning to advertise in the Central Register, posted next Wednesday, and then we just need to kind of decide on a bid opening date, which I've got some items here, just running by you if you're around, or somebody's at least here and we can run it for you, but so the intent would be to have South Worcester on the street for about a month, have a bid opening mid-May, and then hopefully have the contract award within 2 months or so after that, and start construction hopefully end of summer, early fall, and move into 2025 with that project. So that's a decent stretch on South Worcester and then East Hodges Street, so it'll be good water main upgrades for that. The PFAS grant, my team just met today. We're going to need some signatures for Town Hall, but hoping to get that draft over to you for review. We're applying for funding for design for Well 3 to provide some initial alternatives analysis, and then a final design will be the next grant round. And then linking that with our EPA funding, we had a meeting today with our EPA rep for the special earmark for the Auchincloss funding, which probably want to set up a meeting with Town Hall just to confirm.
Yeah, I missed that meeting.
Yeah, no worries. It was exciting. So Mark gave us some good information. We have a draft of our application, but the costs are what we need to really discuss. And I think best thing to do would just be to have a meeting with James and just talk through that again about, reimbursement and how that'll go. Want to make sure we have the right numbers in there before we submit that application. So he's ready to go. Looking forward to looking at the draft, but want to make sure we have the numbers right for that. But that's going to link in with potential balance of the funding. That'll cover 80% of the construction costs for Well 4 replacement, and then the balance of the 1.47 million will go towards the PFAS construction side of things when we get to that point. And that is okay with commingling, no concerns with using SRF funds for that, which is the intent for the balance. If we do a treatment system either at Well 3, set something up over around the treatment plant, that's what the alternatives analysis we had presented before will go through. So that's kind of more or less where we're at overall. We're continuing to help out a little bit here and there, as water quality comes in with the situation over at the treatment plant, but it is kind of more of the, it's unforeseen conditions. It's a very, it's not what we saw during piloting. It's not what we saw, what we've seen historically. We just never really had a groundwater table this high for this long. So you're seeing a little bit more, other minerals that are not normal coming through, which, no concerns right now, but long term, we'll take a look at it if there is anything, but climate change, we'll see if anything changes, but overall, I think the intent is to, wait this out a little bit and then, modify pumping a little bit. We're working with some other folks to try to see what we can do as far as optimizing, and then obviously working with the FIP filter there with some concerns. It does sound identical to what we had last year too, and go through that. The other 3, it sounds like, so we've gotten 1 repaired, 6 had a core, no concerns. 5 was the one that had concerns, but so far it doesn't look like there's any media loss of the other 3. And knock on wood, we'll see. But we'll work with them on either using the company that we had last time come in and do an assessment, or see if we can get Tonka, the actual filter manufacturer. That
Yeah, Derek and I were talking. We were hoping to see if we get the media results back before having somebody come out. I just don't think we can wait that long. I think we're gonna have to have somebody out and rebed that filter just to get it back online, so we can cut down on the back washes, just because of how frequently we're doing it now. And by having an odd number of filters, it makes it even more difficult to run the facility. I think it's just nature of the beast.
Yeah, and your media is,
It
there
doesn't-
shouldn't be any issues with it.
It
It's,
doesn't look
you've,
bad.
you've not even pumped what your treatment plant capacity is, and the media
Right.
should last 15 years or so anyway. So I think same as, you know, the rest of the filters, we have two separate issues going on right now. You have a little bit more, you know, TOC, and you've got some color in your water, but then on top of it, you have, one of the filters has a little bit of an issue. So kind of separate, but of course, it is Norton, so why wouldn't it have at the same time? So.
Exactly. 100%.
So, on the aerators for the tanks, what's this happening with those?
That's in design. So so we have the aeration project as well as the water storage study for the entire town, and the likely replacement of the Cottage Street elevated tank is part of that. There's kind of two separate line items and two separate contracts for that, but they're in the works. We're at the point with our modeling. We've updated the GIS and are looking to start to import all the shape files into the model and upgrade that to get ready on the storage tank. So the storage study was really to figure out what size elevated tank we want to go to, but also take a holistic look at your entire system, because you do have a lot of storage and a lot of it tends to be unused.
So now the trend is to have less is better.
Water age is concerned, THMs, you know, so and then
In the old
bacteria.
days, it was the other way around.
Build the biggest you can, right?
Right, so,
Yep, but now there's new restrictions on water quality, so you need to now.
very confusing.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Especially
constant.
when your whole
No,
system
I'm
is
seriously,
designed
it's
the
kind
other
of
way.
like, it's a whole flip-flop with the whole thing. And the water rate study,
It is still ongoing. We're still providing them with information.
so the question is, on the part of this water rate study is to look at other cities and towns, what they have for water
They
rate.
will compare with other towns, yeah. Yeah, we provided
Because the
them,
bill just went out, and everybody in Red Mill Village, that's what everybody has complained to me about. I'm just saying,
you gotta fix that.
yeah, we're gonna raise them, and we'll really fix it. right?
Fix them hard.
Yeah, the last round we compared to neighboring communities and also similar sizes. So, and I mean, well, we helped with the last one with the firm that you hired, so.
And then the other thing is water meters, where are we with that?
Oh yeah, that's still going in the background. It's just one of the bottom layers.
It's
there.
just been dragging along.
Yeah.
We've had discussions with another company. We haven't even had a minute to really even think about bringing them in and looking at it. We are upgrading our meter reading software because we have no support. And it will cost us twice if we don't do it now and we have to upgrade the town software. Basically, we'd have to convert it twice, so that just.
The
doesn't make any
software is
sense
not,
to
is
do.
out of date now, is that what you're saying?
It's been out of date,
Yeah,
so
okay.
for some reason, our system crashed. You know,
Right,
We
so-
have a tech that would work with us, but if for some reason he moved on, we're out of luck. It's just too much of a risk to rely on that, you know, good-natured human. At this point, it's Norton. We don't wanna, you know, keep our fingers crossed. It's time to move on, get the software upgrade, and deal with that, and we'll look at meters a little bit down the road. What we have now works. It's always worked well for us. I think.
Is the concern gonna be the new software is gonna have to cause meters to be replaced, or?
No, it'll work with our existing meters, and we're told it would actually work with a few other meters as well. They don't like to let you know that because they want you to stay with their
Right, of course.
main meter, but most of the endpoints are kind of interchangeable. Jumping back to the South Worcester, going basically at the end of the year, is there enough time if we put priority on East Hodges Street to be done? Would there be enough time to try and get that done before the winter?
I mean, we could put it in the schedule to make an attempt to get that done. It is a smaller stretch. The hope is that you do have ductile out there, which we had thought originally we were going to have to do the whole length, but now it does seem that you've got several hundred feet left. So if that's the case and there's not piecemeal kind of in that stretch, then it's not, it's a few thousand feet, and there's not, houses are spaced pretty far apart. The only concern I'd have is, you know, depending on what contractor we get and whether or not they have different, you know, priorities on or issues with material.
Mhm.
But it seems to be getting a lot better over time, and that's less of a excuse, I'll use.
I mean, I know the Dean Street intersection's kind of involved.
That'll take some time, but it's got to be done one way or another, and if there's any way to kind of, it's a large enough intersection that we could, with a lot of cones and some traffic readjustments, we can get it done.
Just thinking, instead of, having
Yeah.
them basically come in and stage, and then you have to have it sit over the winter.
Yeah, I think we might just need to get an extension for the railroad crossing, but I don't think, well.
Yeah, I know. If that's.
I think it's only a 1 or 2 year. I believe we changed that because they had already set the wrong date, because I think they thought it was still 2023.
No, I mean, if that's gonna be a holdup, obviously, we focus on that and get past that point, but just trying to think if we
Yep.
could get one road out of the way.
And there was a development potential on Southwest, or that's probably not.
We haven't heard any more about that.
Okay, great. All right, then that's not a priority for them either.
That'll happen after the May goes in. That's the way it works.
Unless there's any other questions, I'm all set.
All right, thank you, Tara.
Sure.
Steve?
Excellent. All right, the sewer, let's start with the big project. So Elm Street, sewer extension, water main improvements, is an update. So the borings are complete, or at least the first round, the majority of the borings are done out there. We have a good profile of the ledge and the groundwater. It's where we expected it. So basically up, in front of Reed and Barton and up in the hill on that side of Elm Street, there's refusals up there. So we'll get a good profile of that. And then you come out of it as you come down to the lower elevations as you approach Miller Terrace. And then as you go past Miller Terrace, there's more ledge. Basically, as you get in front of alongside of the library and head out onto Main Street, the ledge starts up again and into Main Street. We did some environmental sampling near Reed and Barton. Didn't really have any hits on the sniffer. We sent it out to the lab. It is coming back with trace amounts of contamination in the soil, in the street, in front of Reed and Barton. We're having more testing done to determine how it will impact what, if anything, needs to be planned for with regard to the sewer trench itself out there. So we just got our initial results back, so we're still getting more information on that. It is limited to a small section based on the testing that we did, as far as our trench goes, but there will be some impacts, potentially. So we're figuring that out. So we haven't done a boring at the pump station site yet because we haven't finalized the pump station site. So in terms of, we've talked a couple of times, or been talking at meetings about the site analysis. So ideally, the low point is near the intersection of Miller Terrace. Our top choice was Land Preservation Society land. We made some progress with that, and then we finally hit a brick wall, and it's not gonna go there, which is fine. We're just looking to get a final letter that, we did our due diligence. That would be the best site from an elevation standpoint. There are wetlands, but we were working with the Concom. They were amenable to it. We weren't in wetlands, but we were within, the buffer zone of wetlands. And then there's also Wheaton land across the street still in the low area. And actually, the figure is up there, but if we want to go into detail. But I think I've gone into detail several times. And, based on the discussions with Wheaton, they're not interested. We're getting the documentation back from them that they're really not amenable to it. So that brings us to the site, the library park. It'll be a little deeper. It's very doable. It'll be a little deeper. We're into the ledge now. That's where, so at Miller Terrace, we weren't quite in the ledge. So, we get to that low point, and now the sewer continues to go down and the road starts coming up. So the sewer in the street will be, 7 or 8 feet deeper than it was gonna be at the low point, which means our wet well will be deeper.
Yep.
Probably probably similar to what the West Main, actually, West Main wasn't that deep, the town center was a little deeper. But anyway, so that's fine, we're gonna start, we just have to account for that, you know, the cost of the site. And again, with the ledge in there, it's not as big a deal because it's a very confined, it's more of a big deal like what happened to us on West Main Street. I don't know why I just brought that up because I hate talking about it, but what happened to us out there
All
where,
restriction.
on a linear nature where you're just continually dealing with it. Here it's just, you know, you go down 8 feet and you hit ledge, you gotta get the rest of it out. So anyway, we can deal with that. I think one thing we're gonna need to figure out is who do we work with on the site layout? Like, who's gonna wanna have input into that? We can, our first go, and we'll walk over the map, because I just need some guidance on who will ultimately be involved. And obviously, we'll run it by this commission, but ideally, we would tuck it right in the corner here. Every 10 feet, we go this way, we get another foot higher with the road and deeper with the sewer, so it just keeps, the more we go this way, it gets deeper. If you tuck it right up in the corner, there's a lot of trees, and this driveway to this, which is a significantly sized property, good sized house, swimming pool, their driveway is basically right up against this road, so we would be right up against the driveway. We would tuck it into that corner. It's town land, it's just that immediately adjacent. So we probably should have a site visit with, like Brian, with you, but then I don't know who else, from the town will want to be there, and think about where ideally the wet well would make sense. Because it being a town property, we don't have to tuck it right in the corner. It's nice to, leave as much of the land usable, so if we come in, so you've got this entrance down here already, or this little, turnaround area that's already open with no trees. We just need to figure that out. We're not gonna figure that out tonight, but I'm gonna need some help with who's gonna wanna have input in that decision. We can go out there and throw a stake in the ground. Yeah.
Well, Library Park is a town park?
Yep.
It is.
Yep.
We have a town planner now?
Yes.
Next week.
The old town planner.
Yeah, Paul
Is
goes
the new
back.
town,
Paul
right?
will
Yeah.
come back, yes.
I would include him.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, you agree?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I would think Paul and Frank make a decision.
Okay.
Your decision, I would think.
Yeah, and we can, the first go at it, our natural instinct would be to have the pump station driveway right on that side and the wet well there in the building, just based on how we would want to tuck it into that corner. But when I look at what's out there, I think we're gonna have to move things a little bit away from that line and try and, see if we can find an area that's already not as many trees, so we'll work it out.
We don't have a tree warden, right? Is that the highways?
That is
It's
part of
typically
the
the
highway
highway.
superintendent's job.
And we don't have a tree ordinance, correct? About cutting trees down and replacing them?
I don't believe
Some
so.
towns do.
I don't
If you
believe
cut down
we do.
one, you have to plant 7, that type of stuff.
Currently.
No, there's
town
nothing
property.
like that.
I don't
And
think so.
There used to be, and this might be state level, not town level, but if it's along, like if you can't chop a tree down on Bay Road, for example.
That's
you
scenic,
can-
scenic road though.
It's a
That's
scenic
di-
road or an
that's a different
historic
rule.
road or something
Yeah,
like
that's a
that,
different
right?
rule.
So that might be state level.
Yeah, we'll follow up on that stuff. The force main routing, we do want to go the Pine Street route. We do have to figure out, continue to work with how we're going to cross East Main Street.
I had sent you a late email. about
I was
some
trying to read that in my
concerns.
car. Yeah, there's always concerns.
Yeah,
There's always one,
That route
You
is
get around one issue.
problematic.
Yeah, so the issue out there, which was also confusing, is so the state is just finishing up their repaving and redesign of the stuff in that area. We didn't know that this, when that project was going forward, we didn't know that this one was coming. So they showed us they're almost done, and the state highway, so East Main is not a state highway, West Main is. But now they're showing on their plan, Mass DOT is saying that the state layout continues from where 140 comes through all the way to basically the middle of our intersection that we're talking about going through. And it's this jagged line. I should have brought a figure, but I didn't print it out. It's this jagged line in 3/4 of the intersection. And they say, once they're done with their work, it's the jurisdiction of the town, which would fall to Jared as the highway superintendent as to whether we can open cut and dig through there next year when we wanna do this, you know, and do a nice tight trench through there, which is ideally what we wanna be able to do. So we have to make sure we can make it fit. We would consider directional drilling or some kind of trenchless technology, but again, the ledge is an issue.
Yeah.
Based on the borings we've done, we would be drilling through rock.
Yeah.
And the price, I don't even know for sure we can do it, and if we can do it, it won't be cheap. So, just another little thing that we need to figure out, but we will. All of these things along the way on the design. So the biggest thing I want to talk about is the public outreach and where we're at with that, because we need to make some decisions and kind of move quickly. We've been before the select board, which was right after this commission met last time, and you guys were both there. We went to the FinCom a week and a half later. Frank was on the agenda for budget issues, and kind of forced our way in, saying, well, we might as well talk about it, and we need to, I've been trying to get on their agenda. It went well, and then it went off the rails a little bit at the end. I wouldn't say off the rails, but there's definitely, the biggest concerns that came up at the end are more related to the betterments, and have you told people, there was just a lot of, and this is what's going to continue to be an issue when we have our public meetings, is the people fronted by the sewer that are assessed a betterment. Some of them will be thrilled to have sewer, but the ones that aren't are not happy at all. Because then they get assessed a betterment, they can apportion it over their taxes, but they don't want to hear that. We can run the numbers and explain to them that by assessing you this betterment, you don't have to pay anything right now, you can pay it over 20 years at a low interest rate. But then when you do, and then you have now the 7 years to connect, the ever-moving target of what the policy is. And when they do go to connect, they do have to hire somebody to connect, so there's another cost.
Yep.
And it's a tough balance all the time. Like, why do we build sewers at all? There's definitely a benefit to it. The word betterment isn't just random. Their property is bettered by having a sewer. When they go to sell their property, if they're on a sewer, or have the ability to tie into a sewer versus being on a septic, it has value. No one can ever come out and tell you what that number is until you go to sell.
You don't know until you do it.
So I think that's one of the, we have to get support along those lines, that it makes sense. So, I mean, you guys saw the presentation as far as how the numbers play out. It's, it would be a shame to lose the $3.5 million grant. It'll never be cheaper to build this sewer. We have, Mike Units is working to get a meeting with the DevCo people who have been looking into buying the Reed and Barton property for some time now. Because that came up to where are they at, how much are we charging them? There's that whole issue of, they've got whoever buys the property has got a ton of work to do in terms of remediating it. There's going to be costs associated with that. The sewer and water, they can't do what they want to do without, better water, improved water and a sewer connection. But if you throw their assessment onto the cost of the property, are they going to run away and hide? Is that going to put it over the top that it's no longer, worth it for them? So those are the discussions that we've had.
Is the presentation at FinCom was basically the same one?
Yeah, the exact same one.
You're giving that same one at town meeting?
So the town, not at town meeting, so we're gonna have public meetings, which is what I wanna talk about next. Ideally, at town meeting, we shouldn't be doing anything significant.
Okay.
People should know what it is, and you can answer questions, but there shouldn't be a major presentation, that's the goal. So, and the point I try, there's a lot of pushback on, why are you charging betterments, why are you doing it this way, why are you doing it that way? I've been pushing Mike, so in addition to the Reed and Barton meeting, we should have like a work session. We shouldn't make this, we can run the numbers and say this is the range of what it's gonna cost, here's your grant, here's, you know, the water rates can pay for the water work, here's what's left. If you assess betterments like we did on West Main Street, that takes this much of it, and here's still what's left. But others should help with the input on, you know, one of the guys at FinCom said the town should just pay for it. And my answer that would be great. Okay, but that's not how it's worked. The town doesn't do it that way, and everybody that ultimately gets fronted by the sewer, you know, they do have to buy into the club. They do, whether it's, we can adjust the betterments and not have them be lower based on the grant monies and, you know, based on this specific project.
Right.
The betterments could be less than what the previous project was, if that's more palatable. But there will be assessments, and if you don't assess betterments, it'll be connection fees, and nobody likes those either.
Yeah.
Right, and that was that whole discussion earlier. I think the gentleman wanted you to say that because betterments were assessed on that job and we didn't get one, we don't get a connection fee either. That's not what the lawyer was trying to get to, that's what the owner of the property was trying to get to.
Yeah, the lawyer knew he had no understanding.
Yeah, because if you don't assess a betterment, then you can assess a connection fee. So that's great. We don't do, you know, we take the betterments out, which we're not gonna do, but if we take them out, then nobody has to pay anything until that 7-year time when they have to tie in. Then they have to
pay a loan.
Then they have to pay the same fee, because they would have paid for a betterment, and they can't apportion it over that one. They're on their own. They can take out a loan, they can do whatever they want. They gotta pay the full thing up front, and they gotta pay a contractor to build the sewer. So the betterment route is more palatable. It just makes sense. So, all that being said, I've asked Mike to try and set something up with like the treasurer, the accountant, the assessor, someone from the select board, someone from the FinCom. We shouldn't make this decision in a vacuum. We shouldn't go in front of town meeting with, we're the bad guys. If the town meeting votes it down, they vote it down. You know, we don't build it. It's fine.
Right.
But the whole reason we're even this far is because the town wants it. The town went and got these grants, and they have this money, so you know, we need to have more people on board that are gonna stand up for it.
If this
and
goes
not
away,
just-
then the town's vision of the Reed and Barton property pretty
That's-
much goes away too.
Potentially, yeah.
Good.
This is a big step in that process. I think everybody gets that up to that point,
Yeah.
and then all it takes is a couple people to complain about the cost of this and that, why are we doing it this way, why are we doing it that way? So we just need more people to have a stake in how we're putting it forward. And we'll go with that. So, all that being said, public meetings, we're waiting on the Reed and Barton meeting. Hopefully next week we'll get something scheduled, and hopefully Mike can help me set something up with all these other, with the finance people. But we need, for the public meetings, our plan here is so the thought is to hold 2, just to give people 2 chances to go and hear about the information. Also, they'd be basically the same meeting, but obviously the second one could build a little bit on what questions are asked at the first one, and you can add a little information or whatever. So we're targeting, and I made up copies of these. You don't have to read them. Thing that you can see in the block here, what we're talking about doing.
Are you planning on board attendance, or?
So that's what I want to talk about. So
I was gonna
I
ask
would
that.
think so. That's up to you, and that's why we need to know, because then you would have to post it, right? All that means is you would have to post it as a meeting and have minutes. Look, I had copies. Okay.
One on me.
May 8th, when I was missed, I can make the 8th.
Okay. So yeah, these are the dates we came up with. We worked with looking at when the other board meetings are, and we tried to find venues. So we were able to get the library. So we have the library reserved for 6:30 p.m. Wednesday, April 24th. And then we also, the library wasn't available 2 weeks later. So we're doing 6:30 on May 8th, 2 weeks later, and right before town meeting, basically.
Yep.
At the Woodland Meadows Community Room. So that's the plan on when we want to do them.
So I can go to one on May 8th, and I can't come on April 24th.
Okay,
I
and
can
that's
go on the
opposite.
24th, and I can't go on the 8th, so. That's perfect.
So,
That could work out.
Steve, you still with us?
We have, yes, sir.
So the two dates, 6:30 PM on Wednesday, April 24th, and 6:30 on May 8th are the two dates we're planning for public meetings. I guess first off, are you available on those dates? Because
I think I'm available on both dates, Steve.
And so,
Well, it should work for me.
okay, so that means we'll have two commissioners at each meeting.
Yeah, we can do that.
That's fine.
And then we should,
So we
therefore it
can
is a
post it.
meeting, so it needs to be posted. Yeah, so Jim will be at one, and Steve Bernstein will be at the other Steve. And then
Okay.
if you can be at both, that's great.
Bring your coffee and donuts.
Yeah, I'll assign Ryan to do that.
This will be like last time where it's posted, but we're not gonna actually call a meeting to order. It's just posted because we're gonna be in the same room, right?
I think that's how it works. I mean,
We didn't do that at the
you
select
have to have
board meeting.
minutes.
I don't know if we were supposed to, but we didn't.
I mean, actually, for this one, it is
Officially
your
call.
meeting, you could do it that way. mean,
I think we do a roll call.
maybe
Okay, actually, yeah,
I think we do a
that was
roll
a
call.
select board meeting. This is
Last
ours.
last
Yeah,
I remember,
okay,
we
okay.
did this.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so you could start it as,
Yeah.
as an actual meeting. Okay, so the intent,
We should
is
also
to-
have Paul D. Giuseppe involved in that as well, because he originally got the ball rolling.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think, you know, we need to let all the boards know when this is. They should come and ask as many tough questions as they want, or come to support, whatever they want to
Is
do.
Paul, are we still waiting for him
You know,
to come,
when
or
do
is
we
he
get?
officially already in?
I believe he's starting Tuesday.
All right, so he's available for these dates then?
Should be.
Okay.
He's back on staff,
Yeah.
whether he's available or not, he's
Right,
back on town
he's
staff.
back.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna take this notice and direct mail it to the people on Elm Street, so that they get something in the mail.
Yep.
We're gonna work with Charlene Fisk to get it on the cable site and get it out there through the, whatever media, that's what Mike said, just get it to Charlene. And then also, they should be able to talk about it at the select board meeting, FinCom, just let people know, they should be able to announce it or whatever.
Get it on the access channel.
We'll post it at town hall, on the board there. And then, I think we should put it in the paper, just to make it an official public meeting.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't, I don't know how much that drums up in terms of getting people to come, but, so Brooke, we're drafting up a separate, shorter message to go into the Sun Chronicle. You've helped us with the bid advertisements, right?
Yes.
So we can get you something tomorrow, and then as soon as it can go in.
Okay.
We're 2 weeks from tomorrow now is the first meeting, so we just need to get the word out there now. So I can leave a copy of this with you, but we will email it to you.
Perfect.
So one of the questions on this, Frank, and Brooke, I guess, is the way we left it on the newspaper ad, is if you have any questions, I had Anna put her email address and her phone number on here. And then we just write Norton Water and Sewer Department down here, unless you want to put the sewer department. So if you go back to this notice, actually, Frank, there's a spot for you to sign this, if you're comfortable doing it this way. And under this one, so in the last paragraph, we wrote, so we left Anna's email address, and we said, or call the Water and Sewer Department. And is that that's the main number, right?
Yes.
That would most likely be Janet. Okay. So for the newspaper ad, it doesn't matter to us, and I don't know how many calls you'll get from the newspaper ad, but the way we wrote it now is it's just gonna come to West End Sampson, we'll get the calls and the emails, and we'll just let them know what's going on. Okay. All right, so we're really gonna try and make a push on that tomorrow, to get the mail. So, do Do you wanna sign it, Frank?
Whatever you want me to do.
It's up to you guys. I mean, so we set it up that way, and we can send it without a signature. It's not a formal. So if you sign it, then I can scan. Why don't you sign one? And then I'll scan it. We'll do it that way. And so for that meeting, we will need to beef up the presentation to talk more about how it impacts the residents, the betterments, and what that means to them, and to a lesser
I'm sure
degree,
they'll
what
have
the
some-
construction
they'll have some questions
means,
about
and
it.
pictures of the pump
Sure.
station site, and things like that. There'll be more information about, you know, what it'll look like during construction, what it'll look like when it's done, and then how does it impact the homeowners?
Yeah.
Because that's who we're expecting mostly to show up. And we also should target any people that we know that are itching for the sewer upgrade, which, you know, the apartment complex, Reed and Barton should be there, not Reed and Barton, Devco,
The Devco company. yeah.
if they are.
Have these dates been cleared with a community calendar?
They have, so
Okay.
that's what we looked at, yeah.
Okay.
Frank had suggested that, yeah.
I don't know what else is happening in the world with high school or
I mean,
any of
they-
that stuff.
we might run into something else. I mean, I know there are no other town committee meetings, you know, select board, FinCom, there are no other meetings that night, and the venues are available.
Focus mainly on other board meetings that
Yeah.
might be hindering.
Okay, that's fine. Well,
the
Yep,
sports
no,
and
this
stuff.
question is valid, yeah, we
let's-
did, you know, we looked at the calendar on the
Only know what you
website.
know.
We looked at the, I guess it's the community calendar
Okay, that's
on the
fine.
town's website and picked it quick. Because we were gonna do a Wednesday and a Thursday, the 9th, and then Thursday didn't work. It conflicted with other things, so. Okay,
We made sure we skipped Steve's date night as well.
And that's very important.
It's Wednesday.
It is.
Wednesday, oh, we nailed it.
You can bring her.
That'll be something different.
Yeah, she'd love that.
Okay, so that's what I got on Elm Street. So the biggest, you know, we're plugging away on the design, we'll wrap that up. You know, again, all covered by the grant monies, which is great. The bigger push is gonna be getting support. And how hard we're gonna push. And we might have to make a decision if it's clear that we just need the support for it. If the town doesn't have the appetite for it, they don't have the appetite.
If that's the case, it'll get revisited again down the road at some point.
And you won't have the grant.
Hopefully, if Paul can
No, but they'll
attend
still
this
visit it.
public hearing, he can speak about the master plan and the importance of the
I mean, it would be
project.
nice.
And really where it all came from.
Yeah.
I mean, where
Yeah.
this whole idea came from.
Yeah, yeah, which is what I try and present in the
Right.
presentation,
But
but he
he's
can
the town
speak
planner,
better
so
to
that would
it.
be
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
And hopefully there'll be
And I
clarity
think-
about Devco's
Yeah.
commitment to the project.
Yep. And, you know, Christian, the health agent has, in emails, said this would be great for this area, there's some of these systems are struggling. He hasn't really been able to provide, I don't have any data on systems that are failing, but the soils in the area aren't great. So it is, you know, all of these properties are at risk when they go to sell,
Right.
that they might fail Title V. Any property is, right? But if they do, then they've got to replace their system. It's, we got some prices from the local contractor that's doing most of them, and it's more than the betterment system.
Yeah.
Price to replace the system. Okay, enough about that. So Holly Road, Knollwood, so Frank, Grid changing the game again, they keep changing the game, so now I sent that email out. So basically, we're trying to get the last meter installed at Holly Road so they can make a final connection. And Grid has now asked the contractor to go out and do some more things before they want all the work done. I don't know, it's not what they wanted before. So anyway, at least they're communicating with us. I have not heard back from Ardent on the email that I forwarded. I'm sure they're just rolling their eyes.
I'm sure, I mean, how hard is it really?
I know, they're pretty reasonable. I mean, they haven't responded yet, so we'll keep that moving. And the startup is pending getting that work done. Cobb Street Phase 1, So the emails that I see, and you know, Will Chandler, who's been working on all these pump station projects with me, is out this week, so I didn't get a chance to catch up with him. But the last email on phase one, Bruno, they replaced the block heater, and Bruno reported that he has not seen leaking. So it looks like it's been fixed. I know the contractor has sent us a pay application to release their retainage, but you guys still didn't, I want to approve the previous one, if you're willing to do that. So we had an invoice that you guys didn't approve.
Yeah, there was one that.
There was one, and they've been asking about when they're gonna get paid for that one. So let's revisit that one, now that the issue has been solved.
Something about Steve's network.
See, this was back in February. So they had a pay request in for $3,765.80. I think that was the balance, because they were done. And there's still, so there'll still be $8,000 in retainage after you approve this one. So I would recommend now that this be approved. If you guys want to entertain that, that's the cover letter.
I make a motion to approve pay estimate number 4 for the Cobb Street Pump Station Improvements, contract 2021-01 for $3,765.80.
I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm an aye also.
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
Steve?
I don't know if we signed this.
No,
or only
that's for Frank to
does.
sign. So,
I thought so.
and I think, so let's talk, so they've asked for release of retainage, and I don't think we have any reason not to release it now. They are 100% done, so I think for the next meeting, we will be processing their final pay rate. And then everything would just be under warranty. Anything else that
Yep.
goes wrong, they still have a warranty where they would have to come out and take care of it.
How long is that for?
1 year.
1 year.
So we'll tell them to process that, and we'll get it on for the next meeting.
Okay.
For the retainage. So Cobb Street Phase 2, we met out on site last Tuesday. Actually came up with, I feel like, a good plan, a good compromise for the bypass pumping, which is semi-permanent option for you guys to be able to bypass again in the future. And I think, you know, Frank and John, you guys worked well with the contractor to bring down their cost by doing some of the work. The town's gonna do some of the work. The change order was more significant than we expected, but when we reviewed it, you know, everything made sense. Most of it was in the materials and whatnot. So by the town, basically they're gonna run a sleeve into the manhole so that we can have the suction line underground. We're gonna run a sleeve from the manhole onto the property underground, and then they'll slide the suction line through that and into the manhole. The problem with the plan that we were gonna do is the pipe was gonna be, the suction line was gonna be on the road, and they were gonna have to leave the road closed. And it might have been, it'll be multiple days that the road would, you know, 24 hours that would have to be closed. So, anyway, the issue now for discussion that came up, Frank, is concerns about odors and what that means. So, what do we think, so when you do, so you mean odors while the bypass pumping is in place is one thing, right? Because once they're not doing the bypass pumping, that will all be sealed and move back to what you have now. So I guess when they do the bypass pumping, doing the suction from that manhole, they'll plug the line that goes into the wet well, obviously, because they don't want to be cleaning out the wet well. And most of the odors, I mean, the odors should be coming from the wet well. That's where they get generated, right? Where the wastewater gets
Well,
stagnant.
basically, you're gonna have, essentially the manhole's gonna be open, so you're gonna
That
have,
manhole
that
is-
sleeve's gonna be into the manhole. You're gonna have the tubes from the pump going into the sleeve, but the gaps around the suction tubes are gonna be basically open to the atmosphere. So that's what kind of needs to be plugged while that pump is in use.
Yep, agreed,
You know,
agreed. I mean,
It's
yeah.
gonna be May, maybe June, you know,
Yep.
by the time all that work's taking place. And,
Yeah.
you know, there's already been some neighbors questioning, you know, what's going on,
mean,
because
it-
they've seen us out there
Right.
doing a lot more work than normal.
So, no, absolutely. And then I think we can put that condition, tell the contractor that he just needs to do that while the suction line is in place and in the sleeve. I understand the concerns of odors, obviously, even if it's only temporary. I think, I don't know for sure, but I think once you plug the wet well, if the odors are coming down the line, that's a bigger issue. If they're actually in the sewer and not coming from the wet well, because I don't know if you're getting corrosion out there, so I'm not sure how bad the odors will be in the manhole itself, because it's just gonna be a continual, they're gonna come into the manhole and get pumped out, they're not gonna sit there. In the wet well, you have the retention time when things go septic.
You'll definitely have some gases.
Yeah, no, I know,
you know,
I know. Yeah. I'm not saying that there won't be odors, and that's the nature of the work
No,
we're doing.
No, exactly.
you know?
I mean, it's just,
Yeah.
anything that can be done to
Absolutely,
try and limit that. I
absolutely.
mean, it's gonna be impactful.
Especially
to
it's really
residents.
thickly settled over
Yeah.
there as well.
Yeah, no, so you're right, while the bypass is in place, sealing that, having them do some kind of, sealing that up with carbon or with some kind of, odor control mechanism shouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, the carbon socks was just kind of an idea I threw together, and maybe it'll
Well,
work, maybe it won't.
Yeah, I'll talk more with Will Chan when he gets back, and we'll make sure the contractor is aware that, he is responsible for not having excessive odors.
Something, right.
And as far as, so the other issue is when they actually clean the wet well, so they're gonna pump it out, so the septic haulers are gonna come out, they're gonna open the wet well up, there's gonna be some odors escaping into the air, obviously, when you clean that crud out of there. The trucks that, most of the odor from that, I would think, would be, so the trucks come in empty, and when they start bringing the wastewater in and they vent out, it's whatever's coming out of the truck. So I don't know if trucks, if they all have
Some
odor
of the- some
control
of those
mechanisms, they probably
septic
all don't.
haulers
How big is
do
the wet well?
Have the odor
Um,
control on them.
I mean,
A
it's
couple of
pretty,
thousand gallons?
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be,
That's nothing.
it's gonna be a few hours
Well,
of work out there.
yeah.
I think it's gonna dissipate into the air fairly quickly once they leave. I mean, when I get my septic system pumped out, it smells for a couple of hours pretty bad, and then it dissipates. They close it up and it goes. So we can do whatever to just make sure that they're
I
not
can't
being
smell
willy
it
nilly.
anymore.
Yeah. I think the bigger issue is the bypass pumping. I think
Yeah, for the
there,
length of time.
there are gonna be odors when they physically clean, suck out and back out and hose down the wet well and clean it. It's gonna generate odors, and it's gonna be, the middle of the day.
Just want to make sure that something's being done and not nothing.
Understood. Fair
Scheduled
enough.
For a minimum 10-mile-an-hour wind.
That's the issue, yeah, if you just get a day without a breeze.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
90,
that's-
90 and heavy fog.
Right, don't postpone.
All right. I think that's everything. Unless you have any questions.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. You got any questions, Jim, Steve?
Almost there.
Anybody got anything else? Don't have anything else. Other than I'm not gonna be at town meeting or next meeting.
When is town meeting?
Monday,
13th.
May,
They're at 12?
Or 12.
I think it's the 12th.
So the 12th,
Because I
Monday the
leave
12th.
for Switzerland on the 11th.
Of course we do.
And then our meeting would be
I will
the
not be at
13th.
town meeting.
Cancel that trip.
Town meeting.
There was some talk of town meeting being 2 nights.
Yes, there is.
So it must be the third.
Really?
Yeah, it's 13th.
It used to be.
Is it, okay, is it the
These
Sunday
things
the
never
12th?
ended.
Mother's Day is the 12th?
Yeah, I can't remember.
Mother's Day
the
the 12th,
specifics,
right,
but
so
I
it's
think
May
it's-
13th.
13th. Oh, look,
So
Steve,
Monday's the 13th?
I leave
Oh,
on Mother's
Monday
Day.
the 13th.
Whatever Mother's Day
So,
is, that's
a
what
lot
we're
of
planning.
issues they're expecting to have a lot of
Our meeting would be the
talking
14th
about.
then, right?
What's that?
14th for our meeting?
Well, so they-
Meeting goes 2
Like
nights.
Monday, Wednesday. they-
Yeah, so we
Oh,
can't
okay.
be the
Wait,
14th.
wait, so there's the 14th, a Tuesday?
Yes.
Yeah, do we
Okay,
wanna just
so
schedule
they-
for the 15th then?
They told us that the meeting would most likely be on Wednesday, not Tuesday.
Oh.
Gives
So-
you
Yeah,
a
I
week to
had
do
that,
the plan.
the 15th written down, that was the first
So it would
day
be
I was
Monday
here.
and Wednesday? Will be the
That's
two-town
what I
meeting
hear.
nights?
It could be one night, I don't know, but
Right.
I think they're planning for the possibility
Well,
of being
that's a
two
good thing
nights.
to plan.
They put in a rule years ago, it's gotta end by 10 o'clock,
Okay.
or like that'll be whatever
The last
article was
article.
proposed at 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
And if that goes to 1 in the morning,
Right.
but they're not starting anything new. And then they give you a break for a day, and then it comes back.
So we can keep our meeting.
Randolph, your town meeting used to last like 6 days, 6 nights.
Well, where?
Randolph,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it was awful.
Big turnout for that meeting.
And then they,
Wow.
then they changed their form of government,
Celtics
so that
playoffs.
was the end of that. But back in the day, it was really tough. And water commission was always, they did everything alphabetical. So by the time they got to W, there was no money left in the town. And we never got anything. So,
Should have changed it to the Aqua
yeah,
Department.
we should have known
Been
that.
all
That was
set,
out of
right?
the-
All right.
Okay. I had a question about the Taunton project. So, I don't know how fast this is going to evolve, but is there time to, because there are a lot of different, like I was just thinking about like the size of the little pumps in on the, everybody has low pressure
Yeah, E1 pumps.
E1
Yep.
type pumps. And that system's almost at its limit, and so I'm just thinking about things like how would it fight with whatever that project comes in with and other things of that nature. So I don't know if there's any interest in doing a study committee or something to get ahead of this before we just say, well, let's have the lawyers decide what they want to do.
The only fair way for them to be allowed to tie in would be to tie into that gravity and have it gravity back to Winnicott.
Oh, it has to.
And then pump out.
It has
Because I know
to.
there was talks
Yeah.
originally about they wanted to tie directly into that force main.
It looks like
and
the
then fight.
engineer has set it straight.
Yeah, and that was never gonna be allowed. I know that was the argument that we had back in 2019 with the other owners, whoever they were.
Or the original seller, right,
Right.
the long-term property, whatever. Okay, and, yeah, I mean, and then there, you know, like I said, there are other things, like what's going to happen if you let one time, when they're all time. And there's something, when you were talking, so the water agreements makes actual sense. It's just water, this one is just sewer. But it was a very contentious Taunton hearings when this thing was finally approved, and so I don't know. There's a lot of politics involved on that side.
But not anymore.
Too. But not anymore.
I mean, when did it, I mean, it's so many years ago, right?
Well, it was right before COVID, so it wasn't really that
Oh,
long.
I see.
Yeah, I mean, for where this, because the area isn't really zoned for this, and it was like a special permit, and it was, you know.
But they got it approved.
But they did get it approved, but then since then.
For residential though, right?
Really?
It's some kind of special residential, it's
Because
not.
it's in the zone too, Taunton. I can't imagine that they're gonna allow a gas station in there.
He said he got it.
Yeah, and some of the history, I don't know how much general interest this is that, on the other side of the highway, the same applicant actually had wanted to put in a gas station. And they were, zoning said, no, it's too environmentally sensitive. The neighbors said too close to housing, we don't want it here, and so they, shot down that project. And then Taunton changed the authority of the zoning board of appeals and moved it to planning, or vice versa. And then the hearing for this project, which is in an even worse environmental location, was pushed through as kind of and I don't know, I'm speculating, right, but I think the idea was to make a point. Since then, however, the original gas station location now is being built, it's being constructed. So just on the other side of the highway, it's going up. You can see it. So it's been permitted, it's been approved, it's being constructed. So the viability of this project, and again, we're not in a position to judge the profitability of any particular land use decision, is, it's even less of a case. But I think that this was done in order to get that other project to go. Their water and sewer, we've got a different structure than we do, so I don't know, I don't think he was our superintendent, but he pointed out their well protection area that they said that this is kind of an environmentally degrading area as it is, and therefore he wasn't going to draw a line in the sand against construction. Yeah, and again, there's some additional things going on that we're not aware of. But we've got to think about it ourselves, because that's where 3 of our 5 wells in the town
It's right next to the zone 2.
right next to the zone 2. And again, this town has made a substantial commitment to improving this whole kind of area. And it was, today it doesn't sound very expensive, but our talk about Elm Street and people not wanting betterments and improving, and in this area of town, it was a very costly endeavor for the folks who lived there, and they were doing it because of the commitment to the environmental situation. And as you mentioned, there's no real tax. The upside for Norton is limited for this in an area that's a couple hundred feet from the lake and drains right into it. You look at the topological things. Yeah, it goes right in there, and but it's complex just from an engineering standpoint to make sure that we've all got all the information, but don't miss something big. So it's wonderful if they're thinking at least to bring it to the gravity.
Yeah, that's a major change from what it was originally.
More distressing things that they wanted to do. So anyway, yeah, if there's any further interest in putting together some kind of study committee or something like that, available to support it.
Sure.
Thank you, Bob.
All set?
I think we're all set.
I move to adjourn.
I will second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Steve and I. Thank you.